He is the GM of your Seattle Seahawks. John Schneider is with us. John, how are you, man?
Gentlemen, Dave.
There you go. Good start.
He reversed it.
How you guys doing?
How you doing?
We're good. We're good. You know, we're out here in Arizona. We're covering Mariner spring training, but we're keeping an eye on you. We're looking on Twitter last night, and the Seahawks tweet out a picture of you and Pete and your whole crew there in a room with C.J. Stroud, and says, you know, the think tank or some, you know, the summit there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're you know, in the midst of Ohio State, Alabama, and Kentucky. We're actually at the airport, Tuscaloosa, right now, headed to Lexington for Kentucky's pro day tomorrow. So, you know, Ohio State and Alabama. We just got done at Alabama. You talk about two great programs, and you know, tons of prospects, great coaches, awesome atmosphere, and yeah, two really great productive days for us here.
Yeah, give us a number, John, like how many different guys? I mean, those schools are loaded, like Georgia, LSU. I mean, typically you're getting how many guys you look at? Like, is there like 10, 12?
Yeah, so Ohio State, you know, it depends. Some guys are, you know, a little banged up. Some guys are getting small season surgery, you know, getting ready for the spring and everything. So Ohio State, you know, you're talking, you know, 12 guys. Alabama here, there was probably 15 to 18. Yeah, so really, you know, just a really good crop of it. It's really cool seeing the character of these guys. Just really good guys the last couple of days. So it's been awesome.
You know, we were talking about it last night, John, and Dave brought up a really good point that, you know, when you're going to Alabama or when you're going to Ohio State, everybody goes, oh, they're looking at C.J. Stroud. Oh, they're looking at that Bryce Young. They're looking at, and then, you know, he brings up the obvious that, yeah, there are some guys that are going to be drafted in the second round, in the third round, in the fourth round from these schools. So, you know, I think we all forget about that because we're so keyed in on the stars of those schools. But were there any surprises? I know you probably won't throw names out there, but guys that maybe had some idea of that caught your eye that could be later round guys at Ohio State and Alabama?
Sure, absolutely. You know, both schools. And you know, like I've talked to you guys before about, you know, we're constantly trying to get these questions answered on guys. And you know, some guys have done it in a real strong manner, and some guys have just, you know, been okay. That happens. You know, some guys will try to redeem themselves with more workouts along the way or private workouts. But no, I mean, it's been cool the last couple of days. You know, like you talked about last week. I mean, I think, you know, that focus of having the fifth pick in the draft is you know, why, you know, you need to be ready and doing as much of your due diligence as you possibly can and spending as much time at the schools as you can. And today was especially cool, you know, seeing, you know, Coach Saban and Coach Carroll hanging out, you know, two iconic coaches. So it was pretty awesome seeing that.
Well, and the other thing, John, you know, for you, I mean, you're looking at guys, you're just doing your job. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, you're getting information that maybe can, you know, even 2-3 years down the road, you'll be like, yeah, I remember I was at that guy's pro day. I mean, you're just compiling. Do you have like a file on these players, just keeping track of everybody, you know, in case they get cut or something?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you know, free agency in, you know, 4 years, 5 years for some of these guys. But, yeah, you know, we're trying to establish relationships as we go. And, you know, it's really interesting how fast those 4 years go. And you know, it's pretty cool today at Alabama. You know, DJ Fluker worked out and spent time with us. And, you know, we're thinking, holy cow, I mean, that time just flies. You know, it feels like yesterday he was just coming out of school and we were interviewing him at the combine. And, you know, here he is today. He was in great shape, had a nice workout. So it was great to see him. But, yeah, you're you know, reestablishing some relationships and, you know, forming new ones for guys that may be free agents in a couple of years. And, yeah, just, you know, trying to get as many of those questions answered that we need to get answered by the time we get to the draft.
Hey, John, how common is that to see a guy that's had a long career in the NFL that's trying to get back or, you know, coming off injury or something? We read about Cam Newton working out at Auburn's pro day, and you just brought up DJ Fluker. Maybe not all those guys make news the way, you know, Cam Newton does, but is that pretty common each and every year when you go to these things? You'll see somebody that's trying to reestablish their career?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's a great reflection on the schools. You know, just, you know, welcoming those guys back and you know, trying to help them with their careers and Yeah, so like you said, Auburn, Alabama, we have guys, working out every year. There was a receiver here today that worked out that, had an unfortunate injury last year in Baltimore's training camp. So he worked out for everybody. And so, yeah, it's a great opportunity for a lot of guys. And, like I said, these schools in particular are great about, welcoming their players back and, considering them family. So it's great to be able to see those guys and great to see that, have that exposure to them and, instead of, having to, fly away across the country to work them out in Seattle.
Hey, John, so tell us a little bit about Devin Bush and what you liked about him. One of the things I said is, when you get a chance, like, for a fresh start for him, I mean, he's got that tag of being the first rounder, and they moved up to get him. Pittsburgh did, but, it's kind of like a fresh start for him. And tell, is that the case? Do guys typically, feel that way? And what do you think about him as a player?
Yeah, no, I think I think you're exactly right. Fresh start, especially for some former first round draft picks. He was a 10th pick or something like that, and I think it's like we talked about last week. There's stages of free agency, and things move awfully quick, and some agents make decisions quicker than others. And we're able to get in with Devin and Julian in a very, very fast manner, like within 3-4 hours, and so being able to sign both those guys was huge for us. Not something that we necessarily thought would happen at in that short time period. But as a player, Devin, for obviously an instinctive player, really talented college player. The thing that stands out this past year is the way he'll strike you. He can really take on guards. He's not afraid to throw his body around, and he still has that that short close about him, closing the distance and like playing with good angles, and again the good eyes. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see him fit into our group here.
Well, and you said, John, that it happens pretty fast. So, I mean, you guys already had an idea, obviously. So what kind of prep, takes place before you sign a guy in free agency? Is there, make sure you get the medical, records and all that stuff, and just kind of take us through that process of signing a free agent.
Right. Great question. So you have everybody lined up. Free agency meetings. We had them end of December, early January. So we basically put together what looks like a draft board in that regard. And so and then when you're at the combine, listening to people and talking to agents and Senior Bowl and whatever people are talking about. Who's going to be going where and what they're looking for, and and then once that 3-day window starts, is really when you get into specifics of, yes, we would be interested in the Seahawks. Yes, this is going to be our, salary range. And then sometimes you feel like you can hang with those guys during that three-day window. These were two guys that we didn't necessarily, see us being able to hang with. And when I say that from a salary range area, and they both were very interested in the Seahawks, and we moved quickly to acquire both of them. Julian, I think you guys will love Julian too. He's a super instinctive player, great eyes, great vision, highly productive guy. Notre Dame and with the Giants, and he's gonna be fun on your radio shows and all that.
Hey, John, we talked to you before about Bobby Wagner. You know how it is out here. The fans are very interested. Quandre Diggs is very interested if you follow him on Twitter and others. Does the signing of Devin Bush have an impact on what you may do or not do with Bobby moving forward?
No, we're we've been talking to Bobby, and what I can tell you is we'll see what shakes out. See how this goes.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, so a little bit more on Julian.
Everybody knows how much respect we have for Bobby. Where he's been for the Seahawks, and he had a great season this last year. And I think there's, we're just we'll continue to speak with him and stay in touch and see how this goes.
Yeah. Hey, he's a guy who we shall not name because he doesn't even have a picture on the website, but he does work with you very closely. He's a financial guy. How often, I don't even want to mention his name, but how often, when you're doing free agent things, are you constantly consulting him on, hey, what can we do here? And what's the sort of, just in general, what's the sort of back and forth with you,
Sure.
that guy I just mentioned?
No, hey, absolutely. He would be the conscience for Pete and myself. I'm in his office a ton. Especially during this time or when we're negotiating, our big contracts. I think sometimes he probably gets tired of me, like, eating my lunch at his desk and, like, leaning over him and, like, hey, what does this look like? Asking the question. What does that look like? Can we do this? Can we do that? If not A, then B, then C. How does that fit? What does it look like for the future? Matt does an amazing job and really trying to make us, be compliant with our salary cap, compliant with all the rules in the National Football League and that we have to adhere to. And, and not getting us in a situation where, if you guys have seen throughout the years, being able to help us, put a product on the field that is a consistent championship caliber team. It's not, all chips in 1 year and that sort of thing. We try to stay balanced as we possibly can with being able to take advantage of certain time periods of other players' contracts throughout the league and as well as managing our own in terms of extensions. And Matt does a great job. He would hate it that we're talking about this right now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm doing it, because I want to annoy him. Yeah.
He's so nice to us out at training camp too.
Don't the young kids say something like, keep my name out of your mouth or something like that?
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Hey, John, we're speaking with John Schneider, by the way, the John Schneider Show here with Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710. One move that kind of caught Dave and I both by surprise, because he was a guy we praised all last season in a year where the defense struggled. There were no secrets about that, but just felt like Al Woods was really just a solid a rock out there. And you guys made a move. He's no longer with the team. As much as you can tell us, what led to that decision?
Yeah, Al's situation was really cash and cap. Everybody has a cash budget in the NFL. You need to work within, and every team's probably slightly different. Although we may show, if you go to like websites or whatever, and say, hey, where are the Seahawks with their salary? There's a lot of budgeted items that fall into that as well. When you talk about incentives, per game roster bonuses, injuries, where we have, like we have, Jordan Brooks and Brian Monet, who, unfortunately are going to miss some time here, kind of counting against our cap as well. And so you have to, there's a whole, there's a ton of different accounting mechanisms that go into this thing. And we just felt that at this time, we wouldn't shut the door on Al coming back. We need to create some space to try to get something done. And, we're still working through some of those issues and how we can use that cap room and the cash effectively. And, we've gone for it here. We haven't been this aggressive in free agency, but we thought with the defensive line class and, the younger players, Jay Reed, Bush and Julian. I say Jay Reed like he's an old guy now. How crazy is that? Like he's 30 years old or something. But, he's still a young man. So, but no, we were pretty aggressive there. Our first week, Draymond and John and Julian and Jay Reed and we were aggressive, and so you have to balance yourself out. And Al's an amazing person, amazing player, great leader. Those calls are not fun. We talk about every year making tough decisions, and those are the tough, ugly decisions that we have to make in order to keep moving this thing forward. And like I said, both Pete and I spoke with Al, and we won't shut the door on his return.
Yeah, I know on cut down day, you're always kind of in a little bit of a remorseful or bad mood, because that's got to be tough for you. You're talking about families and things like that. That's probably the biggest downside as far as your job goes?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, when you're talking to somebody that never even sniffed the National Football League level, and you're talking to these talented guys that have worked their tails off over the years and, have accomplished the titles, we have so much passion for these guys and so much, we care about these guys so much. And, we talk about our support staff, like everything that they do for all the players and, DK and Mo and Dave and Strick and Sam and all these guys. And then unfortunately it has to come to an end at some point. And not fun. The 53 cut down weekend is the worst. My former boss, God rest his soul, Ted Thompson, would literally, when we were in Green Bay, would literally like get the flu every time we went to got to the 53 weekend. I was like, I can't believe we have to let all these guys go. And so, Ted taught me a lot about, just the approach and when you talk to individuals and, how to handle them, correctly and try to, coach them up, and show as much empathy as you possibly can. Part of the job. It just is. It's just the reality of the NFL.
Well, John, what about the other side of that, though? The moment you get to tell a kid who's maybe at the end of the roster, who was nip and tuck through training camp, he wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not, that they're going to find their way onto the roster. That's got to be incredibly satisfying.
It is. That part is very fun. I remember the first guy I was able to do that with is a guy named Lenny McGill, who scouts for the Raiders now, was a rookie free agent with us in Green Bay, and my boss Ron at the time was like, I know he's your guy. You can go tell him that you made it at school. I was like, oh, sweet. That's awesome. Yeah, very fun. That's definitely a blast. But yeah, you don't necessarily want to tell guys they've made the team or at 53 either, because we're so aggressive with trades and waiver claims and such. As you're establishing your practice squad, sometimes you can tell guys, hey, congratulations. And then, 2 days later, somebody becomes available on the wire that you need to, at a different position or something you need to address. And so you have to go back to them. So you have to be very careful that whole week. You're trying to show as much empathy and respect as you possibly can to these guys that have been, working their tails off and competing at a very high level.
Hey, John, kind of similar question as with your interaction with Matt. What about, last year when we talked to Clint Hurt, he said, I have a really healthy relationship and respect for our personnel department. But as far as coaches go and, what kind of players that they need and, for this scheme or this defense, what's that interaction like during free agency time?
Well, it's fast. We ask the guys to be, they're prepped. They know what our free agency board looks like. And then we ask them to be as pliable as they possibly can in terms of the speed of the process, because you don't know how fast it's going to go at specific positions. Like we knew this year that the D-line was obviously going to go fast because there weren't the numbers compared to other positions. So D-line and O-line, and I think you'll continue to see that over the years, next several years. So we asked those guys, to be very, to be kind of on the ready, like, hey, if we do this, then that means this, or if we sign this guy, that means this. And so our staff does a great job, both personnel staff and the coaches. Like we've talked about before, we try to have no walls at all in there so that, we can just be all on the same page and get to a resolution on situations as quickly as we can, because like I said, that time period is crucial. It really flies.
Hey, John, just back to your recruiting, or not recruiting, your scouting out here. You're going to all these different spots, Alabama and Ohio State and all of that. What is it like interacting with those coaches? I assume you've got established relationships, but are some more receptive than others or more forthcoming than others? I remember, Doug and Richard alluding to the fact that Harbaugh wasn't great at promoting them, or maybe didn't do as much as they thought he could have. Do you find that to be a common thing, or what's that like, the interaction with the coaches on these trips?
They're great, but all these schools, the coaches are all out there, and they want to help. They want to help the players as much as they possibly can. Our area scouts take a ton of pride in the background and using the developing sources and having relationships throughout the year at the schools. So you have to be careful with these at pro days and these types of school visits where it's not all just sunshine, right? It's all, you got to be careful that you don't get, just all the positives and no negatives on guys. So you're trying to get a true picture of the person. Some people that schools are a little bit more willing to do it than others, but like I said, we really rely on the area guys to be the experts in terms of the person and the background and the character, and then any off the field stuff we're heavily relying on George Engelbright and Mo, as well as all the information that they can glean from our area guys.
Yeah, and John, what's I don't know if you know what your schedule is like, but how many more pro days do you think at what point do you kind of shut that down and then get back home and start to go, okay, let's build our board?
Yeah, well, we're constantly building the board. We're working on that all the time. We've had the last 2 weekends in there, which has been great. It's quiet. We're able to just totally study and work through different position groupings and different rounds, and so those 2 weekends have been great. We're headed to the owners meeting this weekend, so we have league meetings Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Tuesday night we're headed to Texas Tech, and then from there we're going to go to Florida, and then after that we'll be back. I think I have one more after that, but other than that, it's really just really hunkering down in the draft room and we'll be bringing guys in on their 30 visits and spending time with them, and we'll have our local pro day as well. It's going to go really fast. This time flies. So you need to be doing a really good job managing your time and being efficient with your travel.
Well, John, before we let you go, it may have slipped by me, but did you hit us with a movie quote in there somewhere? Did I miss it? I got one in there. I think it was, and if I didn't, I apologize, because it's all about the ball bearings.
It's all
Fletch.
ball bearings.
That's Fletch.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
I thought the listeners were supposed to guess, not the hosts.
Oh, I thought we were guessing.
Oh.
All right.
Oh, you
My
guys
bad.
are guessing. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, you stumped us before, so I think us and the listeners are in this together, John. We're doing it together.
Well,
But
Dave stumped us on Saturday Night Live skit. We were thinking about movies, right? Yeah.
that's
yeah,
right.
but it was your favorite character.
It is. That's true. That is true.
Tommy Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
We
hey, guys,
appreciate
enjoy
Good
your
luck,
time,
man.
and I'm sure it's really rough. In Scottsdale, time of the year. Where are you? Are you in
yeah.
Scottsdale?
Peoria.
Oh, Peoria, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's really cloudy and cold, huh?
Well, it actually has kind of been. It was raining and cloudy and cold. Yeah.
Really?
Today's the first sunny day.
I'm sorry. I thought it was probably beautiful there.
Yeah, it is. It is today. We're good. We're nobody's struggling here. We're all good. But John, we appreciate you as always. We will talk to you next week, and safe travels out there.
All right, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, John.
There you go. The GM of your Seattle Seahawks, John Schneider, with us every single week for the John Schneider Show. Appreciate that.